So, as many have known, we gave away codes last week to Hindsight 2020 by Triple I Games. Or cool developer. It's made up of a bunch of former folks that have worked on BioWare and 2K. It just folks that are all from around the industry, so they're industry vets. And they've sort of come together to create a little bit of a passion project. So they started with in the Hindsight 2020 is the name of this passion project, and we hit the play button on this trailer here. I think it's almost 2 minutes. So there is, and I brought it up a little bit last week.
Yeah, you can only talk about the first 30 minutes last week.
So I'll tell you the whole story this time. So it's heavily built on this idea of everything you do in the game is divided up between ruthless and merciful choices. So you can either kill enemies or you can just stun them. And there's only a slight difference. Well, there's two differences. The slight difference is that it's a little more difficult to kill them to defeat them if they're ruthless. They just take longer. So you just got to be only slightly better. Or you can just use the sword and go as merciful. Or you can use a sword and be ruthless, just murder everybody, and then you're out of it. But then, so the way you complete the quests, for instance, someone will say, "Go in and rescue my wife. She's turned into this there's basically this weird disease that's turning people evil. Go in and rescue my wife, and because I love her, and she's been in there for a long time, and I fear that she's turning into one of the Raakshasa, I think is what they're called." Okay, you go in there, and then you can actually choose to try to save her, or just kill her because she's already turned into the beast, for instance. I'm just kind of throwing out hypotheticals here. And then you come out, and then the husband or whoever it was that gives you the quest treats you very differently. They may, let me hit the replay button here. They may treat you, they may be upset and angry at you, and you may have to kind of face consequences later on, or they might just be upset and run away, and then that's it. Or it might affect the different, other quests that are available, or even how the town layout is set up. So that's sort of the crux of this mercy and ruthless system they have there. There's sort of I don't know I think it's called the experience system, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's meant to really revolve. And the game's only 4 to 6 hours long, so it's meant for you to go back in and play it. Now, I mentioned there were two parts to this system. The second one is that every interaction with NPCs is annoying, and the writing is not good. I hate to say it this way. The writing is just, I cannot connect to anybody that gives me a mission request. The character designs look kind of kit bashed. They look like from different things. It's got a GameCube era.
I don't like this game's aesthetic. I don't like the weird angular everything looks vaguely like it's a toy, and it doesn't work. Everything looks like like you said, everything looks like a weird sort of artistic GameCube game, where it's we don't have the money to make something realistic, so we've created our own aesthetic, and it sucks. I'm sorry.
There are aspects of this, the main character look kind of cool, Assassin's Creed-ish, but then you get to all the townspeople, and they're just so weird looking. They don't, and it's very heavy subject matter because there's a lot of deep moral choices that characters will ask you to make. It's I want my, do you rescue the kids or do you kill them because they've already turned into zombies? But then the NPCs look horrible,
What's this game rated? It's ESRB rating.
I want to say it's probably T for teen. I don't know. It's definitely not M, but
it's one of those things where I said it at the beginning when we were talking about Project Eve a little bit, but I need the people that if I'm fighting monsters and stuff, they either need to be Dragon Quest style adorable, or I need them to be Eldritch Nightmares. Like, I don't think it can ever sort of play in between. And this one feels like it's trying to just create like Warhammer statues in a game space, and it doesn't really, or figurines.
So I'm the
is that boss fight really just the Ganon fight where it shows him walking?
They are. There's a lot, and there's a lot of the boss fights are that. They're a very repetitive style of boss fight where you're knocking stuff back to them, or you stun them and then you run around to the other side to hit them. To actually take away HP.
So it is. Design. So they're Zelda boss fights without any of the sort of like aesthetic or charm behind it.
And it's all like these. There's just rooms of enemies. Like it's very empty. We talked about games being very empty in previous episodes, like the Pokemon Arceus or the Empty Forest. You go into a dungeon, and it's all you see is these sort of like weird, like those spikes. They're just kind of these hazards that are laid out everywhere. You don't really know why they're there. I mean, it's just like, okay, the local bakery has spike hazards everywhere for some reason all of a sudden, and they look completely out of place. And so it's very empty. And then you'll get into a room, and all of a sudden it'll just populate with a bunch of enemies that just kind of materialize out of nowhere until you defeat them, and then they disappear.
Nobody loves murder closets in these.
It's exactly what it is. It's a murder closet. And it's what's weird is that like if you go
so that explains the spikes, because typically they wouldn't be there, but all of a sudden when there's a bunch of enemies in the room, now all of a sudden you have more hazards in there. They just had them there beforehand for whatever reason.
Exactly. And it's there's a lot of issues with the UI. I'm going to pause this real quick because I hopefully you can see it. Let me see if I can kind of. Here we go. Yeah.
I think you said last time it was a combo system kind of thing where it's like you don't get that mega attack without doing a 3-hit combo or something. Was that what it was?
Yes. So you'll see. Can you see my cursor on the screen here?
Yes.
Okay. So here is the UI that you get. Tell me if you understand it.
PlayStation triangle, and I mean, in any game, I'm assuming it's mana, health, and stamina. But
no, it's so you're partly right. This blue one is your morale.
Okay,
and the morale essentially, if you're playing on merciful mode, you go into any battle room, a death room. What did you call it? The murder closet?
Murder closet,
You go into a murder closet, and you select if you want to use the sword or the staff. Again, the sword, you kill people. That's your whole intent. Or the staff, you spare them. If you select the staff and you go into murder closet, I shit you not that the dialogue that pops up is some brutish-looking murderer who's going to kill you or wants to kill you will say words, and I'm paraphrasing here, but they're almost exactly like this. Wow, it looks like you've chosen the path of mercy. You are abiding by our town's set of rules. We thank you for that. Let us fight. And then you just go into a fight. And it's that poorly written, poorly connected. And so that's what this blue is, stamina, morality. If the morality goes down, you don't die. You just kind of restart that area again. If you choose,
it's Pokemon, you white it out.
Exactly. If you choose the ruthless mode, then your health can go down a lot more, right? So if your health goes down, then you die. Then you have to start that whole dungeon all over again. And so that's kind of the main difference in these two. And then you have this little thing in here which looks like a it looks like a fireball, a Hadouken. When you get those combos, those 6 combos, if you hit like 6 times in a row, which is very auto combo, you can get through these battles by just tapping the attack button and not aiming for anybody. Just tap, 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 tap. and it'll automatically aim for them.
This
And
this almost sounds like a game that was designed for like the Xbox 360 to like
yeah. And so this will fill up, and when this fills up, this only fills up if you get those, you get those combos.
You're powering up your Kamehameha.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can unleash somewhat special moves, and there's like a very slight like progression system to unlock new moves or unlock new abilities, but they're not great abilities. I'll let you know that much. And then this is a stamina meter, so it's just basically for how much you can dash around a screen. And I get it. That one is actually like the most feasible for me. It's like I actually utilize the stamina meter a lot when I'm dashing past enemies and through bullets. And then you have like keys. These are typically keys that open stuff, but it's small on the screen. It's poorly designed. You want stuff on separate, like design 101. You want stuff on separate portions of the screen so you know where to look quickly for stuff.
It's again, like if you're not going to follow RPG tropes with your RPG UI, because that's basically what they've done. They've created an RPG UI. If you're not going to follow those tropes, then you don't get to use that UI.
Yep.
Again, that is magic, health, and whatever your third option is. Something vary from game to game. Like this one, it's stamina. If you're not going to have it be that way, then you don't get to use it. Then you need to create. You need to create something like one of those dial kind. It's like, okay, the middle is a heart that goes up and down. The blue is your morality when it starts dripping or whatever. But like, you don't just get to do this nonsense.
Completely. So here's what
I wanted to ask a very important question about sort of the whole system in place of this game, and it sort of makes and breaks. So it's a morality based system.
Yes.
Does it ever actually feel like it means something? Has there ever been a moment in the game where you're like, boy, I wish I would have just gone ruthless this path, or I wish I would have gone merciful this path? Or has there ever been a moment where it just feels like it wants you to make a straight line decision? Or does it all just feel like it's just like, whatever, you can do whatever you want, it's just how you feel? It's about your feelings.
It's mostly about your feelings, but there are times where I think, crap, I should have gone the other way. Because the levels
but is that because it changes what the future of the game is, or like the difficulty of the next stage? Or is it just because you feel bad?
No, it's not even that. I put in all the work to get through this dungeon with merciful, and then I take I take out the boss in ruthless, and it's ruined my entire dungeon run. And that's what pisses me off. It's like, because there's a dungeon that I took on, one of the very first few missions, where I think it was the dude looking for his wife, where I'm like, I get to this dungeon, I did merciful on everyone, and I couldn't figure out how to defeat his wife, because first of all, the tutorials are really bad in this game. It amounts to like little video clips that might pop up when you come up to like these little tomes, but they're not clear. Like, you want a tutorial to be you fully engaging with the attacks, not watching a video clip and then anyway. So I didn't know how to defeat her with merciful because none of my hits were landing. So I'm like, I'd keep losing. So I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna switch to ruthless on this one, because the game wants me to kill her, because I cannot beat her the other way. Switch to ruthless, defeated her. I'm like, all right, cool, this is good. Go outside, talk to the guy, and he asks the question, what happened with my wife? And like, you get a couple options. One is I had to put her down, bro, or something. I don't know what it was, or she. And the other option was she attacked me. So I did. Well, she attacked me, and he still got pissed off, and he's like, I can't, and runs off. I'm like, well, what the hell, I feel like my whole thing got wasted. My whole journey into this dungeon got wasted because it's not clear of how you should approach these types of situations.
Have you gone and looked to see how you're supposed to defeat the wife yet in Merciful?
No, because the second. So again,
I'm assuming there's not a whole lot of stuff on YouTube for this game right now.
There's not. No. There's not. You find out in subsequent dungeons that you can actually reflect attacks back and to people, but you don't know that until later on until you've done like 2 or 3 of these little side dungeons that you can actually reflect attacks or you can block people. And if you block them, there's like a little bit of a stun. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
They clearly have leaned into the hindsight 2020 thing a little too hard.
So here's what I'm going to say about the game in hindsight, in completion. Thankfully, it's only 4 to 5 to 6 hours long because you get through it and you're like, okay, that was enough for me. For a lot of folks, it's like, that was it. I'm done with it. I didn't like it, or I did like it, or whatever, but that's enough. I will say that the hook of having so many choices and so many things kind of adjusting and adapting along the way is kind of cool. And you don't see games get that ambitious to really do that for a 4-hour game or whatever. There's 10 there's 10 endings, 4 of which are like completely different, and it's all based on how you approach stuff. So that's excuse me, that's actually really cool and really ambitious. And I gotta applaud them for that, because that actually got me, even though I did not like the actual gameplay, the actual battle systems. I didn't like the locomotion. I hated the fonts and the text on the game, because
we are really in an era of bad fonts, and I don't know why.
But this is so bad because like if you're talking to an NPC, the text is essentially as small as the NPC, but the NPC is always like so far to the back of the, like, let me point. If like the NPC is way over here, which means the text box is like that big. And bro, it doesn't look good on a Switch screen at all. It's horrible, but it's not even good on like TVs and monitors. And you legitimately have to like lean in close to the TV to see it. And then when you're actually having like when it's your turn to make a selection for like a response, you'll get giant boxes here of responses. I'm like, well, wait a minute. The question was like this tiny little thing back here. The responses are huge here, but the font is actually, like, the actual font choice is better for the one back here, because they go with a different font on your selections here that's like, it's not bold. It kind of fades into the background, and those are 2 of the font and text issues. It goes throughout the entire game that the UI and text and font is all over the place, and it makes it difficult for someone like me who has to switch to these glasses and just ordered a new set to see stuff, and it's not accessible friendly at all, and it's very kind of up and down in their designs. Again, it feels kit bashed, which I hate saying it because it does feel like. So here let me explain it this way. I'm working on a PowerPoint for work right now, and that I'm a presentation to a big corporation that we're actually working on. All right, so I'm not going to tell you what I'm working on, but
it's that chrono trigger.
It's a chrono trigger. You got it. Yeah. You got it. So the way I'm creating this presentation is taking a PowerPoint, a blank PowerPoint. I copied a bunch of pages of this blank PowerPoint. I have my header at the top and I have my footer at the bottom, and I'm copying, pasting, like I'm doing snapshots of different things that I want to show off in here as sort of like placeholders. Like, okay, the image of that, I don't know, that thingamajig is just a placeholder, but it's integral to the story, and I'll kind of figure out my story. You know, I'll kind of tune up the story later on. It's just a visual thumbnail set for an index. It's like an index spread across a bunch of pages as sort of a template, so that I can get back into it and actually finish it and add the real content later on. This game feels like a PowerPoint template of bullet point ideas that's like, okay, we're going to have a morality system. Cool. All right. We're going to have graphics. All right, cool. We're going to have 2 ways to do battle. All right, cool. Ship it. Instead of saying, what is it actually, how does it actually all work together? And I mean, it doesn't work together. Again, cool ideas. I could get past the visual design if the character motion was good. It's not. The camera's bad. The character motion is bad. There's like 0 shadows in these areas, so it looks like characters are kind of all over the place.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at this screenshot now, and I'm like, wait a minute. He's right.
You can't tell. You can't tell what's going on in this screenshot. No. Like, it's like, look at this. It's
nothing has a shadow. The lava looks like shit.
The fire looks
that's
like
bad fire. That's a good font. That's some good.
Yeah.
That's the
Assure.
that's just Assure as Wrath. I mean,
I actually wish the font was this nice in the game because this font is nowhere in the game.
Well, congratulations to the 3 winners.
Yeah, congrats to the 3 winners. The boss battles have equally poor. It's essentially, see, this is the boss info. What is it? It's a blue line and a red line. There's no design thought to this.
Wait, what are theirs? Do they have a morality?
They do, and that's what I said. You can either if you choose the morality weapon or if you choose the so it's the ruthless weapon. Yeah.
So they have different health bars for different weapons. Is that basically what that is? Yeah. Okay, and that makes a little more sense, but also that's incredibly stupid.
It is, and you can.
Because can you change the weapon on the fly? I thought you said you had to pick the weapon before you go in.
You pick the weapon before you go in, and here's the crazy part: you pick the weapon before you go in, and it's like this process where you hit the button, and it's like, "Would you like this weapon?" And you go over to that weapon, and then he goes to this like animation of grabbing this weapon and holding it, and it says confirm, and then you confirm, or you go to the other one. I think you can change weapons mid-battle. But then the minute you do, you have to, every time you change a weapon, it goes through that process of,
because it would make no sense to have both health bars if you're choosing your weapon before you.
Let me take it back. Yes, both health bars are there. It's coming back to me now because this is how I defeated some enemies. You switch the you tap like the D-pad or whatever they are in the Switch, and you do switch weapons, but again, the minute you go to kill if you switch from the merciful to the ruthless, so you can knock a bit of their life back, it changes the battle completely. So everything you were building up for in an entire dungeon gets undone if you hit the wrong button to select a weapon, and it's frustrating.
This sounds like this would have made me incredibly mad, and I'm glad I said no.
So again, there's plenty of good ideas in this game, but it's very unfinished, and it really needs the developers did a good job. Did their job of coming up with this idea, but now it's like they needed somebody to come in and say, you need this to look better, you need this to look better, this needs to work with this. You need this action, the platforming action to be better because it's meant to be an action RPG. And again, you can't. So it's like they're missing something.
Now that you yourselves have the aforementioned hindsight,
like the idea is there. It needs a whole overhaul now, visually and action wise, to make it worthwhile. But it's. Yeah, it's a bummer because I was looking forward to this game. I'm like, it's kind of I want to play this.
Hasn't it been like 2 or 3 years? Like this game has been
it has visually nothing looks like it's changed in that time. Like looking back at older videos and older like previews and stuff, because I was curious as I was writing, putting the review together, and I'll post a review here in the next couple of days as I kind of finish formulating my thoughts. Everything that I'm seeing with today's release, is the same stuff they picked up on at least 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, the game had already been being worked on for like a year plus. So it's like nothing looks like it's changed in those 2 years. And it's disappointing because it feels like it got to a point and then they just stopped and said, just release it. We'll fix it in post or whatever. We'll tighten up the graphics in level 3. Again, there's an idea here. There's a really cool idea. This is more of a critique of the game than just a review. There's a cool idea here, but it did not land. It's like they went for the triple Lutz Saukow and then they landed on their butt. A valiant effort, but landed on your butts.
Yeah, you clearly can do it, but you just did it this time.
Exactly. Yep. I think this is where they really need to get get some more help on this game because I don't know how big their staff is. Again, they keep talking about these 4 folks. I'm assuming it's probably a little bit bigger than that too. But they almost need somebody from outside to come in and say, you guys have to overhaul this, but a game needs an overhaul. But yeah, anyways, there you go. Hindsight 2020. It's an idea. I never want to say, and here's, you know what? Here's something you never want to see is this type of a ratio on an indie game. On an indie game on a PlayStation official account.
Is that 30? It's 30. It's less than 35,000 views on the official PlayStation account.
Yes. Yep. And it's been out. It's been almost a week that this video's been out. So,
bad marketing. We were their marketing arm.
We were. Again, I feel bad.
You never want to shit on somebody's job. And
no,
really
no,
shitting on it, but also you just can't say like, yeah, it's fine. You feel bad about it, but it's bad about it. But that's what the point of all of it is. Yeah. Like, we come across, we're not at SideQuesting. We just shoot from the hip every time.
We really do.
We don't. We're the indie source basically at this point. Like everyone likes to talk to us about their stuff at this point, and if you can't figure out what the people want in the indie scene, like at this point you've made a game that has a good idea but didn't land. Take that as a win. Like you have a game that people are praising, saying like this has the makings of something great. Take that energy, and if you have the ability to make another game, some studios won't have that luck. Some studios will just kind of launch a game and it won't do particularly well, and that'll be it. But like if you have the ability to make another game, realize that you're there. Like you clearly have the skill sets and the talents to make something creative, and like you just need to get somebody in there to make it cohesive and like take some solace in the fact that you made a game that is being praised for its creative idea, even if the game itself isn't that great. Because you still did a lot more than what a lot of other games, fucking Abandoned is still doing nothing. They've been teasing it for they're never.
There are games out there that focus hardcore on their visual aesthetics, but the actual game is junk. Like we've seen that a million times where the game looks really cool in still images and in like a quick trailer, but then you play it and it's horrible. And we've reviewed games on SideQuest. I've reviewed games on SideQuest where I'm like, it looks cool. This game is trash. It's a heap and trash fire. I think I reviewed one last year for the Switch that was the same way. This game, at least Hindsight 2020. First of all, don't use this. Don't you change the title? Don't. That's
a bad title. I'm sorry. The other part of it, the subtitle of it,
it's better.
I understand you need to figure out a better way of doing the sort of more like thinking back on it. Like, I understand that you want to make people think back on their choices and maybe play through it again because it is a short game, so it's designed to make you want to go back through and do it. But like, there's a better way of naming it than Hindsight 2020. Hindsight 2020 sounds like it would be like the subtitle of some sort of like a Remedy like Control sequel or something.
Hindsight, like Hindsight 2020 is hindsight's a very modern word, and so this game isn't modern. Like the setting's not modern. The setting is sort of this fantasy based. Like Hindsight 2020, don't play this game. Like that would that's kind of what it gets you. But, I mean, again, cool idea, cool creative, cool creative backbone, but
incredibly nice people.
Nice people. But we don't review on people. We review on the quality of the product. Yeah. And again, I'm one last time, like you said, JJ. Cool idea, but it just did not land at execution. And I'm not shitting on it. Because I'm like critiquing this thing. I could shit on games, and I've done it again. I've done it in the past, but this is because this has that creative idea, and because they took the smart tack of only going 4 to 5 hours at most. I think that that prevented me. I mean, we don't score games here, but that prevented me from giving it an absolutely horrendous score because they at least had that creative side built into it. But man, this needed time to bake, and they needed to bring in more folks to kind of just.
It seems like it seems like the type of game that would have benefited greatly from early access.
Yeah.
Like that way it's like, well, it's not technically out yet, but like you guys can play it. Tell us what you think has changed. That way people could have said like, hey, you need to do something about the font or something.
Yeah.
This UI needs a enhancement or two or whatever. But yeah.